How are you?
Hey, we're doing good.
Yeah, we're good. Really excited to be here.
Thank you for being here. This is amazing.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, I'm here with Don Jacobs and Will Dingeldein of Sotheby's.
Yeah.
And they're going to tell us a little bit about their real estate careers and some trends in the market.
Cool.
Yeah. So, Don, do you want to start us off? How did you get into real estate?
Yeah, so I've been in the business about 10 years. I started with Russ, Lyon, Sotheby's, have not made one single move because I knew it was the brand for me. And I just recently started working with, well, not recently, but like a little over 2 years with Will. And it's been amazing.
Yeah, it has. I started with Long Realty in the Foothills office. Got a great foundation there, and then when I was ready to move on, and I felt like I graduated really, and was ready for a change, and I'm so glad that I met Dawn, and she brought me on board, and I haven't looked back since.
That's awesome. And there's definitely a cachet with Sotheby's. I think everyone recognizes that brand and associates it with quality.
Yeah.
And I know we're in Tucson, Arizona, but you guys have a lot of clients from all over the country. So tell me a little bit about how you get connected with people who are looking for either a retirement home or a vacation home or just something to add to their portfolio.
Yeah, so the great thing about our brand, I mean, yes, we are a luxury brand by name, but we service all price points and just still offer that white glove level of service. That's kind of our motto, and especially for Tucson. I specialize in second homes and retirement homes, so people looking to downsize or just move here for a winter getaway. We have a lot of that kind of business, but yeah, all price points and
Yeah, I think it's really just about that quality of service. And I think it really is that connection. And when a client who is used to a certain level of service and maybe is used to the finer things in life, shall we say, or has quite the portfolio already, there is just something that happens instinctively with them and they connect with us. And I just think it's because we speak the same language, we've traveled to the same places, we speak their vocabulary, and they trust us. And what I specialize in is really helping buyers find their home. Some agents are less involved, is what I'll say politely. But I really have a very, very involved practice. And I use my interior design knowledge and skill to help bring their vision to life and basically cut their buying time down to half. And that's how I think I have perfect synergy with the Sotheby's brand of that white glove service where they can relax and not have to worry as much.
he really is the best when it comes to buyer's agents. I mean, he really curates the experience for them so that they're not wasting time. He's not wasting time. He sends them, the top 5 properties. I really think, based on what you told me, that this is what you should consider. And it's almost like he was reading their mind, which is an amazing experience for the buyer. It just takes so much pressure off of them to enjoy the experience. And then for me, I really specialize in listings. So that's really where my specialty is. And my goal is to really work on the client's bottom line. I keep that at the forefront my entire time while we're delivering an amazing experience. And that's where the two of us come together while we're curating, the financial side, the art side of things, and then the enjoyment of life in this new place. So
Yeah, I think really real estate is about the blending of the poetic and the business, like where those two intersect.
Right. And do you have a lot of people who are looking for turnkey? Like they want everything to be kind of exactly what they want. They're coming from out of state. They don't want to do anything to it. Or do you also have people who are like, I have a vision. I want to start with a blank slate. Help me create exactly what my space is.
yeah.
Yeah, I think we see a gambit of buyers coming to Tucson because it is rife with opportunity. I think that depending on the price point and what you're looking to tackle, you have the opportunity to create your own vision. And there are plenty of blank slates to be had at a myriad of price points. But there are definitely more and more clients who are coming to Tucson that just want that turnkey experience. And I can have a TED talk about how HGTV and Selling Sunset and all these shows have kind of affected, I'll say nicely, the real estate market and the real estate experience and buyers expectations. That is what we're seeing more of, is we want to just have an HGTV show, and just walk right in and everything's done. So
Well, we are a very big second home market. And so for a lot of people, they don't want to go furniture shopping and redesign a whole new place. So there often are condos, townhomes, and homes available that are furnished and ready to go. And that is complete turnkey. They can just start their life here in Arizona, which is amazing.
Right. And do you think people have sort of a Western aesthetic in mind? Like they want sort of a stereotypical Southwest vibe?
We do see that a lot. Not, I mean, it's about 50-50. You know, I grew up with it, you know, born and raised in Tucson. I mean, the Southwest is like, you know, been around me forever. And it's funny because it seems like it's gone out or it's dated, and then someone comes to town and they're like, they love the Saltillo tile and the Talavera tile around the shower. And it's like, that's what they want. They want that experience here, and that's fine if that's what they're into. And especially if this is just something your Arizona home,
Right.
you know, then it's gonna keep that Arizona aesthetic. I mean, cool. I love it.
I have to say, I do love how a lot of the 70s tile has held up.
Yeah.
And I see like an original home.
Right.
Like, I appreciate the craftsmanship because I think that compared to something built in like the 90s or the 2000s.
Oh my
is very,
God.
Yeah.
It's
no character.
Right.
There's no soul to a lot of it. It's just people are trying to get away from the white box
yes.
that's just every home is the same. There's no character, and so we are seeing a resurgence. And we just had a sale in Shadow Hills where it's also teal tile, beautiful wood. There's a famous hotel here called the Arizona Inn, and that's what I described it as. It really is the Arizona Inn in its heyday, and they love that. And they're coming from a magnificent estate on the East Coast, and they have everything they could ever want there. But they were like, "This is what I want. I want a home with character. I don't want
Yes.
this gray box, boring IKEA."
I love Arizona Inn. The first time I saw it, I was like, this is the Hotel California. It's
Right.
just like old school, pink.
old world.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Well, and I have a
Carpet.
question. Yes, I can imagine if you have multiple homes and you have your pedicure in a city and then you have maybe like a coastal condo, but you're looking for something very unique to Arizona. Like I can imagine that you would want to carry that aesthetic a little bit just to like feel like you're in a very different place when you're in your various homes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah. And how do you get connected with people, especially people outside of the Tucson market that maybe not that aren't directly getting your marketing initiatives?
Well, we have a huge Sotheby's network, so Sotheby's agents really work very hand in hand together. So we get a lot of referrals from out of state. We've gone to a lot of the conferences and networked with other agents. So that way, but also just through our friends and family, and constantly posting online, I think is a big one for me. And then for here in Tucson is my local networking and charity events and things that I'm just constantly just staying in the community and staying present, trying to stay top of mind, you know, anytime somebody needs something.
And I think out of state buyers really, and I shouldn't relegate that just to out of state buyers. I think buyers in general, regardless of where they're from, they're becoming more and more savvy because of social media, because they're seeing a lot of tips from different real estate pages, or advocacy pages and how to navigate it. So they're taking their time. They're doing their research to find the right agent for them. They're having the phone calls. They're going to the open houses and seeing, oh, like they'll look exactly for that agent, see if they're holding an open house and go and see how they interact as like a mock interview before they even contact them. Like, are we really going to mesh and well together and work well together? And it's an important step in the process because you are going to work very, very intimately with whatever agent you decide. And I always say that our car is sometimes, part, financial office, but also part confessional and therapist's office, unexpectedly so. And it's a very intimate process, and it's a very, very emotional one for many people. It is the home. It's where you're gonna, put down roots, start a family, retire. These are major milestones in people's lives. And so it can get emotional. So selecting the agent is key. And so people are using the tools available to them to do their research more and more. They're not just walking in, signing up with the first agent that they see.
Right. We're going to be spending a lot of time together, and we're going to be sharing a lot of personal details. So we just don't take that lightly. When someone's making a move, either, their kids have moved out, or they're having babies, or someone has passed away, life changes. And we're here to kind of just like help along the journey of just like, we're going to lead you to the right place that's good for you right now, where you can enjoy your life based on what's brought you here today, you know?
Right. And so when you have people, especially coming in from out of town, do they say, I'll be here for a week, let's see 20 places? Do you ever have people that say, like, just kind of walk me through it on FaceTime? Like, do you ever have people that are sort of sight unseen? Like, how are people handling that process?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
There's a lot there. I would say, we definitely do have clients that just fly in and they're here for a week and their time is precious. And that's where I think, how we approach this business is, again, with that curation. They're not just sending me 50 homes that they want to go see, and I'm not the tour to Tucson. If you want that, then that's different. We're here to, really, really maximize the time that you're here. And based on that initial, sometimes it's 2-hour conversations that I have, lots of emails back and forth, me really learning about them, their lifestyle, their family makeup, what are they really looking for in a home? And then when they get here, we have 10 to see. And that's it. That's the difference, And I think I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, but 10 quality.
Yeah.
Yes.
Quality houses that really fit what they've told us. And also there's 2 of us. So if it does get to be a long list and there are that many homes available, let's say, there's 2 of us, so we can kind of split our time so we're not just like, bombarded for the next 3 days. That's what we both are able to do. So
And that's twice the expertise, twice the amount of local knowledge of we put our heads together after we have our consultation with our clients and say, okay, what neighborhoods, let's brainstorm, what kind of, architecture are they after, wanting something more modern, more contemporary? Oh, okay, I saw this yesterday online, or,
Right.
it's just twice the amount of brain power that I think what makes it
Yeah.
more successful for our clients.
Right.
And then in terms of FaceTime, your question about that, we saw that more in COVID. I think that it still happens today. Some people just, again, are frankly order takers. They get a call, they get somebody, okay, great, I want to go see this, go FaceTime, and that's fine. But during COVID, a lot of people pivoted to that. I definitely saw that a lot in my own business, of touring people, because that was the only way to do it. With social distancing, of traveling, all of that. But now more, less so. People want to feel, touch, smell a house, right? So they're going to make an effort to come out and set some time, to really make this important purchase, which I always advise
Yeah.
to do.
And I think there's so much value in your curation, because we've all had experiences when we're looking at homes where you give the real estate agent some parameters and like your price point and what you're looking for, and maybe they'll show you 3 things that are really great and that are exactly what you asked for, but then they have 5 properties that are just, they're trying to sell. Someone else in their firm has had this listing open for a while and they're just going to see if maybe you'll bite on it. And I can imagine if you're someone with a limited amount of time, you're traveling in from out of town, you're just someone who's, a more high wealth individual whose time is valuable, then they're really not going to want to see 5 or 10 places that are nothing like what they want. I can imagine that they put so much stock in.
yeah.
Okay, you actually did the legwork and you're only showing me things that I could potentially pull the trigger on.
Absolutely. Another thing we like to look at is they may send us a property, but then we pull up the aerial and it backs up to a main road or something. And that's not something typically a buyer even thinks to look at. They just thought, this house looks amazing, this neighborhood is one I want to be in. But they didn't maybe look at the aerial and it's like, oh, there's a major busy road right behind it. Are you okay with that? Because some people are, but most people we try and suggest not, because not only is there going to be road noise, but resale value is going to be affected.
Right. Yeah, very valuable to have someone not just showing you sort of the best version of all the images of the house, but also, yes, there's a major road behind it. It's a one-way pullout. It's something that, all these little things that maybe you don't think about, especially if you don't know the area.
Right. Knowing the area is key.
And then also, again, being involved in the community like we are and watching real estate news like we are, you have these moments where they'll send you a beautiful house and I'll say, I know that's beautiful, but what you don't know from looking at the aerial, going deeper, is that, there's a huge major construction project that's going to go just north of there. So you're going to be living in construction for the next 3-4 years.
Yeah.
Are you ready for that? And those views that you thought were going to be in perpetuity aren't.
Right.
And that's really the next step. It goes way beyond the pictures. It has to be much more involved.
Yeah.
It has to be all inclusive and much more in depth, which is what we do.
Right. Well, and I think, people have this perception probably based on a lot of what people have dealt with, where it's someone's really trying to just convince them to go with something and downplaying the negatives, but you guys are really playing defense for your clients.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna be able to sleep at night if I just sold you something that I didn't 100% back you on.
Right.
You know, I want this to be an experience that when you lay your head at night, each night, that you feel good about your purchase. This is not just a sale for me. This is not just a transaction. This is somebody's lifestyle, and we take that very seriously.
Tucson's too small a town to be doing that. In my
It is.
and again, everybody has their own way to success and path to success, and I'll never put down somebody's pathway to success. We just believe in something different. We're not churn and burn agents. I really believe that this is a relational business. I mean, we both have people that are calling us 5 years later, 3 years later, help my mom, help my cousin who's moving here, my brother wants to buy something, we want to sell and trade up, whatever that is. And that recommendation, we take that very seriously, and we love when that happens. But that is earned. That trust is earned. It's not just arbitrarily given. So we're very, very honored by that trust.
Great. And tell us a little bit about the market, because when I moved here in 2018, I had this sense of like, Tucson was very sort of LA in the 70s vibes. It felt to me like this undiscovered gem. I think just based on the limitations of the size, we're surrounded by mountains, and then also of some of the job opportunities that were here. It was a little bit of a smaller market, and then COVID happened. People can work from anywhere. It really blew up. I mean, we were seeing home values double almost in some cases. And tell us about the sustainability of the current pricing, and if you think that's gonna go down, come up. Like, what do you see happening in the next few years?
Well, I always preface this because we get this question every day from buyers and sellers. And before we go into it, I always say the same thing. If I had a crystal ball that could tell me exactly where we were, I would not be here. I'd be on a yacht in Monaco saying hello, right? I would not be here. But with that being said, right? I see this as a formula. As long as this formula still exists, Tucson will continue to have appeal and grow. And that formula is, wow, I'm a young family just starting out. I want to have a baby, and I'm looking around, and my options are starting at 1.2 to $2 million for a house, let's say in California. I now have to pay California real estate taxes, deal with the traffic, and all of the things that go into that. And what is the house that they're buying for that exorbitant amount of money is a shoebox in many cases to be in quality school districts, and all of these things. Once they see Tucson, they're like, wait, we get great schools, beautiful views, outdoor opportunities, at max a half-hour commute in many cases, or even better, I can work from home and keep my California salary. And so I get to live like a king and a queen, right? And have my family, have the dog, have these things sooner than I thought I could for literally a tenth of the price in many cases.
Yeah.
So I think as long as that formula still holds true for that to make sense financially, I just don't see Tucson, people losing interest in moving here.
Right. I mean, our prices have gone up, ever since COVID, there was frenzy, everything went up, there was bidding wars, and we have somewhat stabilized, but we're still always going to be an affordable place to live in comparison to everywhere else. So we are starting to see, as far as currently this very moment, a little bit more inventory than we're used to, and a little bit more negotiating power for buyers, and just a little bit more realistic, price points for sellers. When they could get something during COVID, they're not necessarily getting that now. They're getting close. It's not so far off. We're still very affordable, but it has to be more realistic. So I just think that, Tucson's just an amazing place to live. We offer so much quality of life, and the affordability is always going to be our niche.
Yeah, for out of state buyers for sure. Of course, that changes with locals. That is a completely different story. Less rosy for sure. The increase that we have seen, and you're right, some neighborhoods frankly tripled and quadrupled. Some neighborhoods gained 20% 6 months. I mean, it was wild, right? Now that we're settling down, even though we are seeing a settling, buyers can be more choosy currently. The fact is that if you're a Tucson local, you're still not able to afford in many areas. So that's why you're seeing a lot more interest in, new construction further out in places like Marana, Vale, Rita Ranch, where we're starting to see more locals move because that's where they can afford to live.
Right. And I can imagine also if you're maybe not, if you don't have little kids, you probably wouldn't mind being a little farther out, especially if you're in a property around a golf course or some other amenities.
Yeah, totally. There's obviously very family oriented communities and great school districts and stuff, but if you don't need that, then you could pretty much live anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's great. And then what about people that want to just be off the grid?
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of opportunities to do that. I will say, however, a lot of the land has already been bought
Wow.
and it's being held
Okay.
because people, I'll say people, but it definitely there were corporations that came in during COVID and just snatched up the great lots
Right.
and they're holding.
Yeah, I mean, there is a way to live off grid, but you're maybe not necessarily in the Tucson metropolitan area. You're gonna be an hour or two south, maybe Benson, Sonoyta, that's a little bit more off grid.
Right.
Interesting. And then how do you navigate the current interest rates of people who are looking either to change homes or buy their first home?
That's a great question. You know, that's I think what the poison pill was in the market is a lot of sellers were saying, why should I give up 2 or 3%? Why would I move unless something major happens? And that is something that is the constant, is that life always happens. And so we are seeing an increase in inventory. I mean, for the last 4 years, we were struggling to go above 1,200 homes sometimes. There were some months where it was like 800 homes, which is wild when you consider there's 7,000 licensed realtors fighting over all the ones. I mean, it just didn't make any sense. And so I think today, how they navigate it is something in their life is motivating them, which is the constant in real estate. There's always something, whether it's a marriage, a death, a birth, some major life event, a promotion, where they're ready to take that step, whether it's to buy their first home or to trade up.
Yeah, need really overrides the interest rate. I mean, and they always say, date the rate, marry the house, which is kind of cliche, but kind of true because if that's what your need is currently, then that's where you need to be. And then if the rates do drop, then we can refinance later. But if you're waiting for them to drop to purchase, that's where you run into a problem because once they drop, guess who else is interested in the same house? Everyone. It's like a little frenzy again. So it's best to buy what you want now and then when they come down, refinance. I mean, there's plenty of programs out there. Lenders are constantly offering these options and keeping us apprised of what's happening. So, yeah, I mean, it just really depends on your situation.
Right. Yeah, and I think people thought maybe this year we really start to see them coming down. It hasn't happened yet. So I think there's just an element of that. Eventually, you just get adjusted to a new normal, right? Where like, yeah, we were seeing like 2 and 3% interest rates. Now that's not the case, but it's not 14%, which was maybe 30
Exactly.
years ago.
You
So-
talk to a baby boomer and they're like, you gotta hear what I paid for my first house.
Yes.
It's like,
Yes.
it's because we went down to below 3
Yeah.
during the pandemic that people cannot get that out of their brains. But I mean, in all reality, 7% is not huge. We're not at 7, we're just under. But I can understand that it does change people's mortgage payment, especially if this is your first time house. That's a lot. That changes your buying power by quite a lot. So then in that case, I would say then get something smaller or start with an investment property like a duplex or something where you can start getting income off the second unit. Anything multifamily or just buy a condo for now and then
Right.
move up when things change.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I mean, especially since we're seeing real estate values continuing to go up. I mean, yeah, maybe you can't afford a 4 or 5 bedroom house, but you can afford a 3 bedroom house and you could make it work. And you
Yeah.
could squeeze your kids in the same room and maybe the kids don't even really know what's going on.
Right.
And I think that is great advice. It's just get something that's not exactly what you want, and then you have something and you're holding it and you're creating value for yourself. And then if rates come down and your situation changes, you can sell that and buy something.
And hopefully, most likely, you'll have gained some equity along the way. So you
Right.
just actually made money. So it's just silly not to.
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm a big, real estate value person. I know there are people who say like, oh, the stock market is always a better bet, but I don't know, in our lifetime, that's not what I've seen necessarily. It just
Yeah.
depends on the decade, honestly.
It's done a lot of things.
Yes. Yeah, great. Well, what else do we want to leave our listeners with?
I think, if you're thinking you're on the fence, I would just really counsel you to think to yourself, what is one concession I'm willing to give up? Is the next house the one that I get with pool, right? Maybe, right? Is it the school district, right? Is it really that important? Then no. Okay. Whatever that concession can be, and I encourage you to purchase because exactly like what my colleague just said, you do not want to be in the feeding frenzy. Everybody says to us, wow, wasn't COVID great for you? Actually, no, it was terrible. I did not have a good time. Having 17 offers and at once in the first day and you're competing in escalation clauses and people are waiving inspections and all of this craziness and getting themselves, into just huge amounts of liability.
Yeah.
On overpaying, frankly, which is what we're seeing now as more of those COVID purchases are coming to market. We're like, oh, that's not what it's worth. I'm sorry.
Unfortunately,
Unfortunately, is to get in now. It really is a good time to buy. You have more inventory to choose from. You can be more
negotiating
picky.
power.
Exactly. More negotiating power, which is great from a buyer's perspective.
And the other thing is just do your research, before you just come to an open house and just pick the first agent that you speak to. Interview a couple and find out if they really align with who you are and they have the time to service you and they're not going to just pass you off to somebody that on their team that just got a real estate license. And also interview loan officers. It's obviously you're going to need to know how much you're going to qualify for, but it's good to interview like 2, maybe 3 and see who you connect with, because again, we're going to be spending time together, we're going to be talking a lot, so you want it to be somebody that is answering their phone, very responsive, and gets what your goals are.
Yeah, a key for that, one last tip for buyers and for sellers is when you're interviewing agents, or looking at their social media or looking at their, website, where are the testimonials?
Right.
That's my number one. I said, listen, there's a lid for every pot,
Yeah.
right? And I might not be the lid for you, but if you're looking around at different agents,
You're my lid.
yes, you're you're my pot. Is to do that, find that, right? And see what past clients have to say.
Yes.
See if they have any. And you'd be surprised that a lot of top agents don't have any. So
Right. Well, and I think it just circles back to your point about, maybe you see a property that looks great in the images, but it's on a busy street. There are other things that you might not be aware of. But it is important to not just go off of Zillow and look for your own opportunities. Work with someone that you trust.
And has experience.
Yes, who's going to give you the real scoop and say, I know why you fell in love with that. They did an excellent job marketing it. Here's why when you see it in person, it might not be what you're looking. I'll still take you.
Right.
But
Here's
just
what I want you to think about.
Yeah.
Just know about it.
Be aware.
That's not a big deal for me.
Right.
Great. I'm glad we talked about it. That's
Exactly.
all.
Exactly. But yeah, that trust is so important. Awesome. Well, please tell everyone how they can reach you.
So we both have Instagram pages. I'm William Estates on Instagram. I also have a Facebook. It's just my name, Will Dingeldein. But you can reach me at 520-834-6181. I answer my phone, text me, call me, and I'm ready to have a conversation with them. So
I'm also on social media, but I'm a little old school, maybe a little bit older. So I really love picking up the phone, text me, let's set up a time to chat and just get to know each other and go from there. 520-903-4381.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time. This was really helpful. And I think a lot of people are interested in this kind of, experience. Maybe try something new, retire, move, second home, whatever. And having an insider that they really gel with, I think is going to make all the difference. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
thank you for having us.